our guests now are out to challenge the notion that ballet is only for the young and agile. 2 years ago, Kathleen Curwen-Walker founded the Auckland Academy of Adult Ballet's Silver Swans program, a dance class aimed specifically at women over the age of 55. It now has 50 students, the oldest of whom is in her 80s. The idea of ballet as a wellness movement has gained momentum worldwide, and the Silver Swans program has even been licensed by the Royal Academy of Dance in London, with similar courses on offer around the globe. So how do you take a highly technical form of dance and make it kinder on older bodies? Kathleen is with us now. A very good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning, Catherine.
And hello too to one of her students, a founding swan, if you will, Rosemary Hepözden. Hello, Rosemary.
Good morning, Catherine.
Welcome, both of you. What was the reason for starting ballet for women of this age, Kathleen? What gave you the impetus to start?
Well, at the time in 2016, I was conducting at our adult ballet school initiation courses for adults who wish to learn ballet as complete beginners. We already had classes running for returning dancers, those who had danced in their childhood, who had left dance and wanted to return to ballet classes as an adult. However, I did develop 10-week courses for people wanting to learn as a complete beginner. During one of those 10-week courses, I had the great pleasure of meeting Rosemary, and she at that time was a 60-year-old absolute beginner. At the end of that course, she told me she was now hooked on ballet, but would I dare open a class for ladies of her age? During the year, I had received a couple of emails, I think it might have been 2, from ladies in a over 50s age bracket looking for this very thing. And I said, well, look, I do have 2 names, and if I get, say, another 2, we will start a seniors class. And Rosemary managed to contact a couple of her old school buddies, I think it might have been, and then, so the Senior Swans class was born in October 2016, and by February 2018, the Senior Swans flock was absolutely up and running, and we had morphed into, we were the Senior Swans, and we had 2 classes that filled very quickly with ladies over the 55 age group. And so I fast then developed a program that took these dancers seriously wanting to learn ballet, not just a little exercise class, but I formulated a serious adult ballet class that modified and modified for the specific needs of a dancer in the slightly older age bracket, and it has been very successful.
How fast did it grow between, was it August when you had the first 4 and Rosemary had been a key part of getting that critical starting number underway. How many by February and how has it grown?
Well, in February we stuck with the Thursday class, which grew. We had about 8 in it. Then just due to needs of different schedules, I needed to open a Friday class, but it just filled to about 8 to 12 in each class within that year. And now we've grown to 6 classes per week on our schedule of Silver Swans classes. We've now been accredited with the RAD to be called Silver Swans, but we were originally the Senior Swans. If anyone has seen any previous mentions of the Senior Swans, and now the Silver Swans. But yes, we have rolled out to 6 classes, and there's about 50 students and continuing to grow.
How challenging was it for you as a teacher to design? As you say, you've got to give absolute respect to the form and to the technical form, but to design in a way that would work not just for beginners, but for beginners who were, older than or not returning, but also physically older. What was the challenge for you?
Well, all the variants that would come to my class. People are coming to the classes with all different issues. So I have to be able to set the classes not too easy. I don't want people to think, oh, this is just a kiddies. This is to, I have people who are returning dancers in the class. I have absolute beginners. And I have, so I needed to be able to create a multi-level class that caters for all these levels. So what I found, it was definitely an evolving process. We learnt as we went. I would have to say, I would venture to say I've pioneered in this field, because we have certainly learnt a lot along the way, taking into account also the challenges that, say, the older dancers face in terms of remembering sequences of steps, and how I found that I'd need to go over the same new sequence maybe 3 times, 3 or even 4 times, for them to feel satisfied that they have achieved something in that class. So it was really an evolving process over the past 2 years. I would have to say I went into it not really knowing exactly what I was going to do. All I knew is I would need to modify, but with my classical ballet teaching experience, and all classical ballet teachers of any experience are very aware of watching for injuries, potential injuries, and safe dance practice. So with that training in the back of my head, I just went for it, and we talked a lot. I listened to the ladies, what were their needs, and so therefore the classes have evolved. Modifications started out, I was very tenacious to start with, but we've become more emboldened as we've gone, and to try new things. And I feel like one of the benefits that the seniors are getting from these classes is this new can-do approach to dance. They don't have to just stick to a plie and a tendu. They can actually try a small, steps that they would not even imagine they would be able to achieve. We are now at that stage that we are attempting those things, but in a very safe dance practice way.
It probably won't surprise you, Kathleen, to hear that I've not and have never been a ballet dancer, and I'm not going to put you through the trial of taking me on anytime soon. But say I were to come to the class, or anybody were to come to one of your classes to begin to learn what are the the fundamental movements of ballet. I know we don't do, and my colleague, who is a wonderful dancer, has been helping with pronunciation. There are no grand pliés in these classes, for example. But talk me through the actual technical dance steps that any dancer will learn at the beginning, and how you've adapted them for these classes.
All right. Well, I do follow a traditional ballet class model. However, we find we need to warm up very, very well before we attempt any ballet movements. We need to warm the body up with diaphragmatic breathing, with walking, with stalk walks, getting the heart rate up so that we have our blood flowing very well throughout the body before we even do our first plie. Now, we do all of our classes, mostly I always do our pliés, whether they are demi-pliés or indeed grand pliés, if the knees allow. I do encourage people, if their knees are in good shape, to attempt a grand plie, mostly in the open positions rather than the closed positions.
So this is when you are ducking up and down in pose, yeah?
Ducking up and down with a straight back.
Going to get some very untechnical terms out of me.
Keeping the pelvis aligned and keeping the thighs outwards.
Yeah.
Yes. So we will. I will allow enough music for someone who feels like they can do a grand plie to do that. Otherwise, they are kept to a half plie or a demi plie. But all the time, the mantra is to maintain their form.
Yeah.
So if they're going to attempt a grand plie in poor form, I'll pull them up and keep them to a demi. So it's all multi-level. So they will do plies facing the bar. We face a mirror so they can check their alignment. We do their tendus. We sometimes do tendus, which are the pointing of the feet in the different directions. They will do dégagés or glissés.
The allegro are jumps, aren't they?
They would. So the first part of the class, probably over half of the class, is spent at the bar where they perfect, they train their technique, which allows them then to come into the centre work or au milieu to perform some centre work, and that comprises of some lovely porte de bras, which is the movement of the arms in graceful fashion. They will do an adagio, which is the slow controlled movements in which you will encounter an arabesque, which people know what an arabesque. Yes. They don't have to lift their leg off the ground, but it's marvellous for training and maintaining balance, which is a big focus when we're training our silver swans, is maintaining balance for the improvements that they want to keep as they age. And then we will move into the adagio section, which is modified. We don't. Our jumps are more like small hiccups, protecting the knees and the ankle joints, and they can be modified right down to just a rise or a releve. But we have developed from absolutely no allegro to giving these options because they want to come to a ballet class. They want to feel like they're doing ballet. They don't. If they want an exercise class, yes, they can go and do their yoga or go to the gym. But they're coming here to dance for a beautiful ballet class. So I want to offer them everything a ballet class would offer, but give them those modifications. And then at the end of the class, we will do something that moves around the room, whether it be a waltz, a balancé, which they're all very good at because most have done waltzing in their younger years. So they all can do a 1-2-3, 1-2-3 time signature. So that lends itself to some great around the room with scarves and moving around. Gets them really getting that feeling of their dancing.
Wonderful.
I will add, maybe some character, a polonaise or a mazurka. This term we're adding some props that make them get into character, such as fans, to give a Spanish flavour to their enchaînement. So then at the end of that, once we've done our real dancey piece, they will come back into the centre for a cool down and a reverence, which is the traditional way of saying goodbye in the form of a curtsy. But we always extend that out into a little stretching type of warm down for the muscles, a gentle stretch down to finish off the class.
Wonderful.
And then they usually head off to the local cafe and socialise.
Ladies to the other bar, yes. So I'm sure they don't. So the enchaînement, just help my education, is a series of movements.
It's a series of movements put together. That's
wonderful. Correct. And the reverence is the formal way of farewelling.
That's right.
Thank you, Kathleen. I feel completely briefed. Rosemary, come in here.
Good morning, Catherine.
What's the driver for you? Why did you so want to do this and so make it happen?
Well, I don't know that I did so want to do ballet, to be quite honest. I came across a little article in my local community newsletter that talked about these adult ballet classes, and it coincided with a time in my life when things were sort of quite frightening and out of control, and everything seemed to be going wrong. And so although I didn't have any huge, genuine, authentic urge to do ballet, I was very much drawn to the fact that ballet had this appearance of form and formality and containment and tidiness And that was the absolute antithesis of everything that was going on in the rest of my life. So with Kathleen's encouragement, I did contact her and say, would I make a complete idiot of myself if I were to turn up in her adult ballet classes? She assured me that I wouldn't, but of course it turned out that I did, absolutely. I turned up for my first class, and I turned up way too early. I had been smitten with the fact that I was now the possessor of a pair of little pink ballet slippers. And I put them on and I started taking photographs of my feet in these ballet slippers because I couldn't believe what I was doing. But then I found myself standing at the bar next to somebody who was quite possibly only about 20 years old, and I was 60 years old, and she was quite possibly half my height and very definitely only about a third of my weight. And so I did feel like a complete idiot. However, I have prevailed, and I'm still there 1,000 days later, and I love it so much now that, in fact, I've enrolled in 5.5 hours of lessons a week.
You see, you could have just gone home that day and said, of course this was all ridiculous, but you didn't. So what happened?
Well, frankly, I must be a little bit ridiculous myself. I mean, honestly, the thing is, you can't see this, Catherine, but there is nothing about me that would scream, this woman needs to be dancing. I am way too tall, I'm way too old, I'm way too fat. But there was something that held me. It was the challenge. It was the fact that there was a form to pursue. There was a perfection that I could aim for. And every time I went into that ballet studio, I felt like I was in Billy Elliot or something, you know. And I could almost see Julie Walters in her blue pantsuit with a fag in one hand and a hand on the hip sort of yelling at us as we sort of flung our legs all around in the air. And I just found it hugely entertaining as well as hugely challenging. And I felt so good when I came out of it.
Did you have, when you were a girl, did you have any interest in ballet, any love of ballet? Is there a reason it was the outlet for the completely understandable... Look, it's funny, you know, I would not want to compare, and I know you had family illness, and I think your mother had just died when all this happened, and yet there was a lot going on. But we get these times in life. I took up scuba diving. You know, it's
I'm
like,
not the only mad woman, Catherine.
No, not at all. It's like, okay, stuff this real life stuff. Like, what can I go and do that is a total distraction that I've always wanted to do, and for that moment in time, you park everything else. So I completely understand the impulse. It's just the ballet. Was it always there?
No, it wasn't. I think my only experience was when I was about 15. I went to some classes in a rather dark and drafty little church hall in Wellington to learn jazz ballet, and I was conspicuously unsuccessful at it. And so those plans to be a dancer were shelved rather convincingly right at that point. And so I forgot about it. And it's just that ballet, at the time that I came across this possibility, everything else had such a fear factor associated with it that this had no greater fear associated with it than anything else that was going on in my life. And it's bizarre to me. I hate gyms. I hate physical exercise, actually. And I hate the fact that you go to a gym and there's sort of sweaty, hairy men there clanking weights around and grunting and groaning, and yet you come into a ballet studio and it must be one of the few forms of exercise where you cannot express anything facially apart from this serenity and control.
Which is exactly what you would have welcomed
I did.
At this time. It was a heck of a commitment. Weren't you driving? How many kilometres were you driving to get to classes?
3 minutes down the road.
Oh, okay.
I live, honestly, it's a 3-minute trip in the car from my front door down to the ballet studio. So.
But I might add, we do have someone that comes in all the way from Warkworth.
That's it. I've got you confused with someone else. Someone comes in overnights in Auckland, comes from the farm overnights and comes to class.
Yes, I have them coming from all over the place. I had someone who used to come in from Waiheke at one stage.
And among your classes, because there's the physical, there are the physical changes as well, and we know for women the strength and the bone density is something we really have to think about as we age. I mean, is it 81 your oldest dancer? The physical, challenges and the determination to be strong enough and agile enough. And I come back to those words because is there any avoiding them, Kathleen? They're obviously they're not at the level of a 20-year-old, but are they what you have to build up when you take this on?
Yes, we do specifically add in exercises, conditioning exercises, apart from the strength that is provided by actually doing ballet, but we do add between the bar and the centre specific conditioning exercises that enhance particularly lower leg strength, which will be required for them to balance. Apart from anything that we do with the core, but we particularly focus on the lower leg strength conditioning exercises. We know through research the benefits that dance provides both physically and psychologically for people. The physical
also balance,
aspect.
I would have thought, because you are, that idea of keeping up the neural pathways and, do your crosswords and do anything that keeps the brain learning and making connections. You were just talking about needing to learn the routines. What are the words? Needing to learn the enchaînement. So this, I imagine, is another benefit.
Well, yes, we've got with the physical benefits. We're talking about maintaining mobility and coordination, flexibility. We have the strength aspect, stretching and strength aspect, and of course the stamina. It gets the heart rates up, maintains stamina. But on the other hand, the psychological benefits. It's so good for your brain to dance. The research has shown that over and over again, and it supports what we have learned and come to experience. Dancers, and I have observed their ability to remember sequences has improved incredibly in those 2 years. And so that just supports the research that's out there. That's the mood enhancing. We find, and as you know, there's a problem in the age as we age, particularly getting into the 80s, people can become isolated. This is a great mood enhancer to maybe combat depression that could start to encroach through isolation. This socialises, that gives them their socialise, that weekly get together with the ladies, and they also meet outside of class. So I'm hearing of ladies getting together midweek before their class. So there's that beautiful social aspect that definitely enhances their mood.
Oh, look, could I just interrupt
Please.
here and say the whole thing about those classes is it's just so entertaining. You actually can't believe you're at the bar listening to these magical words like grand battement or pirouette, and there is no judgment in that class apart from whether you're actually pointing your feet in the right direction or whether you're lifting your arm up high enough above your head. It's non-judgmental and yet challenging, and we do laugh at ourselves. We've got to the stage in life where we can laugh at ourselves if it all goes wrong.
It's the perfect combination, isn't it? You laugh at yourself, but also you are taking it very seriously and you are learning.
Well, the thing is that it would be so easy to have a sort of knee-jerk reaction to this whole idea of ballet for older adults and to mock us and to laugh at us. But Kathleen's approach has always been, why wouldn't you dance? Even if you're in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s, why shouldn't you learn? And we have gained a bit of self-respect actually out of attending these classes.
What have you learned about yourself physically in the first instance? What have you achieved that you might not have believed in that first day?
I wish I could say I've lost 30 kilos in weight, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm working on it, but I know that my balance is better. I find when I'm standing waiting for the kettle to boil, for instance, I'm standing on the balls of my feet or standing on one foot as I watch the weather on TV, something like that, or I'm even waking up in the morning and flexing my feet, or sometimes I have been known to get out of bed and practice a little sequence of steps beside my bed in my nightie, which is probably a sight for sore eyes, but there are physical benefits basically in the coordination and the stamina.
I think, do you have arthritis too?
I have
Rosemary?
everything wrong with me. There's barely a bit of my body that's functioning properly, to be honest, Catherine. I mean, I'm blind in one eye. I've had both knees operated on. I've got a metal bar in my ankle. I mean, it's a miracle I'm still alive.
And yet, and is this helping? Are you both having to manage pain and also finding it is helping?
I think it's helping in terms of my flexibility. I mean, I have had imported into my household vast truckloads of magnesium to try to deal with leg cramps at night. So the thing is, I keep setting myself a goal that is beyond anything I can dream of doing right at the moment. And so I work towards it, and I think gradually the flexibility is increasing despite all the natural impairments that have come along with age.
This is important. I can hear the importance of this for you as what? When it comes to the wholeness of your life, ballet is about what?
Well, what happened last year was that at the age of 62, I sat my first ever ballet exam in my life, and I was absolutely astonished to earn honours in it. And so I thought, what am I going to do for this year's little project? And as I mulled it over, quite obviously the obvious quest was going to be simply to lose weight. That was a very worthy goal, but a terribly boring and dull goal, and one that I could easily get derailed from pursuing. And so I've turned my weight loss quest, as it were, into a very specific move. I have launched for myself something called Project Pouette, which is that by December the 1st this year, I will be able to land a pirouette that is worthy of being demonstrated in our showcase at the end of the year.
This was one of the dance moves that we didn't mention earlier because it is physically demanding, and I think the class normally does it on two legs. Just explain.
2 feet.
Two feet. I'm not ever going to be a ballet commentator, am I?
No. I'm not aiming to do the 32 of these jolly things that you see the Black Swan doing in
Right.
Swan Lake. I'm aiming for one, but I'm aiming to lift my right leg so that my foot lands on my left knee and I turn around and I don't fall over, and my arms extend in a flourish of triumph at the end.
So again, when it's the goal setting and its place, is it about overcoming? Is it about being in charge?
It is slightly that, but I soon realised it's much more than a physical quest, just as it's much more than a quest about losing weight, although losing weight is part of it. I realised that there were quite profound emotional and mental aspects to this whole thing, and it's quite ironic that the move that I'll be attempting to make is a spin, whereas I felt when I started ballet, I was spinning out of control. And this time I will be spinning in perfect control, fingers crossed.
Rosemary, you do realise you've just announced this goal on national radio. And in this
It'll keep
context,
me
I can
honest,
say
Catherine.
that.
It'll keep me honest.
I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm sure it is going to happen.
I'm sure it will fill our showcase in December too.
I'll be doing the greatest, biggest reverence to Kathleen at the end of it if I manage to pull it off.
Kathleen, you might now be inundated. Can you take more people?
Yes, we have well-trained Silver Swans teachers in the academy, apart from myself, and we are ready to add extra classes as required.
This, by the way, is it a school? What do you call the here I go again, what do you call the form of ballet? Because there's different kind of schools or approaches to ballet. What is this one?
Well, my formal teaching training was in the Cecchetti method of classical ballet.
Right.
But we do offer RAD and IDTA syllabi within the Auckland Academy of Adult Ballet, and the Silver Swans overarching brand of my classes that I've just become accredited for is the RAD. However, these classes are not a set syllabus. They are created by ourselves, the teachers, under my guidance, and so it's not a set syllabus.
Sure.
It draws from all our trainings.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies, so much. And all the very, very best, Rosemary. I have complete belief you're going to achieve that goal, and then you'll set another one.
Oh, I most certainly will, and you'll most certainly hear about it. Thank you, Catherine.
Please make sure the listeners would love to know. Thank you both. Thanks to Kathleen Curwen-Walker and also to Rosemary Hepözden.